All right, all right, all right. We're live, as Carnivore Soldier likes to say. All right, all right, all right. How's everybody doing today?
Great.
Good.
Groovy.
Good. Good. Well, it's another Sunday day here. We're beautiful weather here. I don't know what you guys' weather is where you're at, but it's been about 80 degrees. Got out and did some walking this morning for my walking challenge.
I saw that.
Got a few steps in, but had to get back to the house here so I could work on getting ready for the live. Anybody else get some walking in this morning, Brian?
No, I did not.
Nicole, I don't know. I don't know if I sent it to you or not, but I started a October step challenge for the month of October. I've been putting it out on my social media. I put it out to a bunch of people to do walk at least 8,000 steps a day for the month of October.
Oh yeah, that's too many steps. No, I just go to the gym. I get my lifting in. Sometimes I'll walk on the treadmill on an incline. Sometimes I'll go on a walk with my husband. But yeah, I rather lift weights personally, or ride my bike. Take my bike out.
The average person in the day walks about 4,000 steps anyway. So it's only adding about an extra 4,000 steps in your day. So
I got 1,000 in walking my dog with my son.
Yeah.
So.
Nice.
Yeah, just normal everyday thing. We're going to walk probably 4,000 to 5,000 steps. So it's not adding a lot. It's just pushing you a little bit farther to get a few more steps in there. Now, some people walk 10,000, 12,000, 16,000 steps a day. That's a lot. But, I just pushing for 8,000 to 10 personally. So today's topic is thriving on the carnivore diet. And, just going to discuss tips, tricks, things that we all think of that helps people thrive on the diet. What what your thoughts are, what you're doing personally to thrive. And me personally, I stick to the basics. It's beef, butter, bacon, eggs. That's my basic stuff. And then I will throw in some side items from time to time to give me some variety, like shrimp or salmon. The wife cooks chicken once a week. So we get a little bit of variety in our diet so it doesn't get boring. Not that I ever get bored of steak, but these are things that I do personally that helps me keep thriving on the diet. And then, of course, we started fasting every couple of weeks, which has helped immensely on kind of boosting our metabolism and helping us lose some weight. Larry, what's your thoughts?
So I keep it simple too, but I don't go for. So I'm like over 190 days in now, and I no longer go for variety. I don't care. I don't miss it. I don't know. Eating has completely changed. My relationship with food has changed so drastically, along with my taste buds, that I love to just eat ground beef and steak with butter and salt. So that's kind of what I do. And every now and then I'll have eggs and bacon, like more of a social thing with my son. I'll have breakfast with him. If I'm making him breakfast, I might make myself to sit down, but it's not because I'm craving eggs and bacon, which I'm not anymore. I used to love bacon when I started this thing, man. Bacon was my go-to to get me through the first month of a snack, that I could just go to bacon whenever I wanted to, and that was it. But now, so also, I took your title differently, how to thrive on the carnivore diet. And kind of what I was thinking of is like, based on the way my body is now and my mind compared to where it was on the standard American diet, I can't see how you could not thrive, like health-wise thriving, right? And it's not just so basically, if I were to stop doing what I was doing, go back to standard American diet, I would no longer be thriving 100%. So, every day I celebrate thriving on this diet, but how to, and I guess carry on, and not get bored. I just don't get bored. I really don't miss that stuff. I don't know why. I thought I did. And this is the way I started. I thought, well, I'm going to do 30 days and then I'll evaluate. And then I did 90 days and I'm like, well, I'll evaluate. Then I'll start adding stuff back in, right? I got out over 100 days and I tried adding in roasted garlic powder, and I did it for one recipe, and I was like, and I used to love that stuff. I was like, I don't really need it. I just like salt. And it's so weird because I totally planned to reintroduce a lot of stuff into my diet. I totally did. But now that I've gotten this far down, it's like I don't really want to, and I think that I am thriving on just a limited diet, keeping it very simple. That's the way I do it. So I just drink my water and I eat my food and I live life. Now it's like food is not a major entertainment hub of my life. And it was like I planned everything. Like going out with friends was food and going on vacation was food. Like I used to plan trips to Disney World with my son and I would plan out restaurants for weeks that we were there, like we were there for 10 days. I'd be planning out what we're eating every night. I don't even know. Next time we go, we're going to talk about going next year. I don't even know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to like bring an air fryer and put it in my room and make my own stuff because I'll spend time just hanging out at the park and drinking water and then just come home and eat. I don't know. It's so weird. It's so different. You can't really equate the two, like the pre-diet and post-diet approach to food for me anyway.
No, I agree. Maybe the title should have been more, why we're thriving on the carnivore diet, versus thriving. But, you got to create a thumbnail to get some people's attention. So
sure.
You got to do what you got to do. But I agree wholeheartedly. But I think there's some steps that we do outside of our normal day to day that helps us thrive a little bit more. Like when I went on my trip last week and went down to the meetup in South Carolina. Well, then I was, how am I going to do this? I'm going to be, away from the house, away from the kitchen, so what are we going to do? So the first thing I started doing was looking for, an Airbnb because I knew it would have a kitchen, and it was a good place to take the wife for the weekend to celebrate our anniversary. But it was also just a good place that we could go and cook our own food and be able to stay on diet and stay consistent. So that was, a step I took towards it. And then, when we did stop and eat, we looked for places that we knew we could get, cooked food versus processed food. So,
yeah,
there's just steps that we all take to make sure we're thriving no matter where the situation is. Brian, what's your thoughts?
So for me, I use beef as my staple, but I do eat other foods, but most of my meals are going to have some sort of beef in it. And there can be a lot of variation there, right? Different types of steak, chuck roast, burgers, just doing like ground beef, that kind of stuff. So that's a big part of mine. That salt and water. I use Redmond salt. And then occasionally, like probably twice a week, I'll have bacon. 1 to 2 times a week, I'll have chicken wings. And then maybe occasionally once every few weeks, I'll have some sort of pork, like some pork shoulder or something that I smoke up or something like that. So that's kind of what I've been doing. So it's kind of on that same theme there of, keeping it fairly simple most of the time with beef, salt, water, obviously butter. That's about it.
Cool. I should have introduced Nicole. This is her first time on the live stream, and that's my bad. I get my mindset going, and I don't think so. Nicole, I assume everybody knows who you are, but you're the Former Fat Girl is your channel. You can find her at Former Fat Girl. She's got a great channel. She does some really good videos. I love some of her reaction videos. If you haven't seen them, you should definitely go check them out. She's definitely an asset to the carnivore community, and I really appreciate having her on here. So Nicole, with that, and I do apologize for not doing that at the beginning. What's your thoughts?
So
outstanding. I was wondering when that was going to happen.
So I'm not zero carb. I do primarily do triple B&E as my staple. I primarily eat beef. So I went out to dinner or breakfast with my folks before they drive back to dirty Jersey this morning. And I had a cheese omelet with bacon and sausage. So I'm primarily triple B&E, but I do have berries. I do have avocado. I just added in cashews a couple months ago. So I'm slowly starting to add things back in. I'm trying to stay between 30 and 50 grams. So still low carb, but yeah, so I'm not zero. I started with zero as an elimination, but I have maybe a few months ago started slowly adding things back in, but yeah, so I still want to stay under 50 under 50 grams. And for my ladies in the room, I am doing a 30-day experiment. I've been doing a lot of digging on this with hormones and women and carbs and all these things. So that's where the 50 grams comes in. So I'm trying to time my carb cycling around my cycle. So I just started, I get closer to 50 the first half, and then I lower it back down the second half. And so far, for me personally, I sleep better. I do have more energy. I do have it for me so far. It has been working. It's only been a few days. But yeah, so I am going to do a 30-day video on that, on my experience in that. But Dr. Minnie Peltz and a bunch of other female hormonal doctors have a lot of great videos on that. But for me personally, I personally feel better cycling my carbs around my cycle. And that seems to be working for me so far. I do feel better than I did with going very, very minimal carb. So personally, as my own experiment, I feel better incorporating a little bit more carb than I was initially, personally. But yeah, so that's what I'm doing, and that's what I've been doing, and that's been working very well for me so far.
And you're thriving. So,
Yep.
and that's the important thing. So let me ask you this: how long have you been on the we'll say the ketovore, carnivore, ketovore journey? When did you start this? How long you
At the
been
beginning
doing
of the year, so it's been about 8-ish months.
Okay, so you've been on it just about the same amount of time as I have. And how much weight have you lost?
Total, since going low carb, maybe 20, but total about 70.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. And so you went through the cycle. You started. Did you start off ketovore, and then go carnivore?
I started 0. Yeah, I started, so the beginning of the year, I just
You
slashed. I gradually decreased though, so that's where people get into trouble with the keto flu and all that, is they just transition too quickly. So it actually took me about 45, 60 days to fully transition. But yeah, I started at 0 carb once I landed there. And I stayed there for maybe a handful of months. And then I started feeling good and all that. So I started with berries, and then a little while later I added avocado. So I gradually added in, and I gradually went to 0. But yeah, I started 0, and then slowly added a few things back in. And for me, I feel better adding in the minimal carbs than I did when I was 0 carb personally. And like I said, I'm doing research in women's hormones, and I think it does play a role in that with our estrogen levels and progesterone and all that. But personally, I feel like I'm thriving a little bit more than 0 carb. But 0 carb is a perfect elimination diet, because you truly get a sense on what things and what foods affect you and how, once you get rid of everything. So the first couple things I tried adding in, like pineapple and peanuts, yeah, that was a no-go. So like, you really know how foods affect you once you get rid of them for a period of time. So that's what I was toying with. I started adding in pineapple and peanuts and stuff, and that just does not do well with my digestion. So what I'm doing now works great. It doesn't affect me. But I don't think I'm going to add anything else back in. I think I'm pretty comfortable where I'm at.
Okay. Well, so that's an interesting point. Is people bring it up all the time. Well, do I have to eat this way for the rest of my life? And my answer is no. No, you don't have to eat this way for the rest of your life. But you've eliminated everything, and then you can add stuff back in. You're going to know rather quickly whether or not you can handle it or not. And some people may stay this way. Some people like this way. I have no issues with the carnivore diet. I love eating this way. My wife is more ketovore. She adds a little bit of stuff into her diet. She's primarily meat based, but she still has a few things outside of that, which is perfectly fine. And I think that's an important thing for people to understand. You got to get there. And then once you're there, you can make a decision on where, what you want to do from that point. But, once you've lost the weight, reached your goals, and then you're looking at something, I mean, it's not like everything in the world's bad for you. It's just a matter of figuring out what your body can handle and cannot handle. Larry, got any thoughts?
Yeah, back to what you were talking about, thriving and planning. That's very important too. So I agree with that completely. When you're going on trips, so like my son, I dropped him off at a birthday party today, and he's carnivore. And so we planned this morning, like, okay, you're going to go there. He's going to have a little cake. I'm like, just eat a small piece of cake, minimize your frosting. I said, but if they have pizza and stuff, what's your plan? He goes, well, I'd like to just eat a big breakfast and then a snack before I leave. I'm like, that's a good plan. So loaded him up on eggs with butter and sausage. And then, he just loaded up right before I drove him over there. So he's not hungry at all. He won't want any pizza. And that's a big, especially going into holidays. This is huge, guys, because there's a lot of social pressure on eating when you go. For me anyway, there always has when you go to Christmas things or Thanksgiving things or Halloween coming up. And if you prep right, it becomes super easy to just say no or just pick and choose what you eat and not be tempted. So I agree with that. And the other thing you said, not everything's bad for you. Yes, that's true. Unfortunately, everything in the center of the grocery store is bad for you. That's pretty much 100%. So as long as you educate yourself, and that's part of thriving, is becoming a good carnivore, becoming better every day, 1% better. You hone your skills as a carnivore, and that includes education. And that means knowing what is good for you, what's bad. When you look at ingredients and you go, oh, this has 5 ingredients in it. Well, that's just baseline. But what are those ingredients? One could be dextrose, like a hidden sugar. You have to actually kind of look. Now, that being said, you can still do this eating not super clean food, because I occasionally, if I'm on the road, I will stop and get a beef stick. I know that's pretty terrible because it's, not super clean, but it works. So, I mean, it's all relative, right? Compared to the standard American diet, a beef stick is no big deal every now and then. So, educating yourself and honing your skills is part of thriving, and then planning, like you just said earlier, John. I agree with that.
Absolutely. Brian?
Yeah. I agree with everything that's been said here. And I'm certainly not the cleanest at carnivore. I'm probably the least cleanest of everyone here, except for maybe Nicole, because she's really, doing some fruit and so forth. But it still works. I'm still doing great with it. And the key is that when I do eat something that maybe I shouldn't, then I go back on track right away. Right. And you don't let that spiral out of control or whatever. So that's the key for me. Like, I might go out with my wife for a meal and have something I shouldn't have, who knows what, mashed potatoes, let's just say. Okay, I did it. Probably shouldn't have, but I did it, and I move on, and I don't look at it as, well, I'm already did one thing today, so I might as well just keep eating bad. No, that one thing happened, and you get right back on track right away. So you don't even wait until like the next day. You just get right back on track right away. And I think that's a key to thriving on the diet, is that we're human and we will do things that probably we shouldn't in our diets, but we get right back on track and then we'll be fine.
Yep. Resilience.
Yep.
Get up when you get knocked down.
So that was I had a live last night, just spur of the moment, threw it up. Intentional Carnivore and Rick from Charger Mopar came in. We had a big discussion on the difference between a treat, a cheat, and a defeat. And so a treat's something that you do once in a while, and you treat yourself to something. You have a piece of cheesecake, or you have the mashed potatoes, as you said, and you get right back on the diet. It's, there's a little bit of a treat there. And then, cheating is just completely, the opposite mindset. Well, I already cheated, so I might as well continue doing it, and then just lead you down that path to where you basically just become defeated, and you defeated yourself. So, I always recommend, if you're going to do something, do it as a treat, and then you can back off. And then as Nicole's done here, she's found a way to thrive and to add more stuff back into her diet that she can handle. And, that's a perfect mindset to have once you've reached, the level that you want to reach. Nicole, you got anything you want to throw in there? I'm going to look through the comments and see if there's any questions in here.
No, just I promote and preach food freedom on my channel and in my business, because I don't think everyone needs to be zero forever unless you choose to be. That's perfectly fine. That's everyone's personal choice. But I'm a firm believer that you don't have to stay zero. You don't have to, consider having a piece of cake a cheat or like you're a failure because you're off plan. I like to think of it as, you know, that's life. You're living your life. You're not going to abstain for these foods the rest of your life unless you choose to. That's your prerogative. But for me, I feel like the ultimate goal for me was to achieve food freedom, not have that addiction, not have those binge eating tendencies, not feel that guilt and shame after eating something, to be able to eat something like have a cookie if I choose to, and not feel like eating, like binging, or have my cravings through the roof. So I put in the work and healed for the most part. And that's what I like to promote is food freedom, because it feels good to not have food be in complete control of you, right? I'm in complete control over what goes into my mouth and how I feel about it. And personally, I feel like that should be the ultimate end goal, because if you don't have that ultimate end goal and you have a piece of cake and you feel guilty and you feel like crap afterwards, like emotionally and mentally, that's no way to live. You should be able to have a bite of cake or whatever, just move on and feel no feelings at all about it, and just go right back to eating meat or whatever. So that was my goal, and that's what I'm a firm believer of personally, and that's the message I like to promote, because that's healthy for your mental, emotional, and physical health all around.
Definitely. Go ahead, Nicole, and tell us about your business and what you do. I don't think we really covered that.
Oh yeah, no big deal. I don't really talk about it a lot. But yeah, so I'm a certified nutrition specialist. I specialize in emotional eating. So I like to say I help women over 40 break free from the emotional eating prison, and that's pretty much what I promote. I have a 12-week program that's called 12 Weeks to Food Freedom, and I just promote working on your mindset, emotional health, nutrition, of course, and then movement. But yeah, I do specialize in emotional eating and helping people find and achieve what I was able to achieve.
Outstanding. Outstanding. So you're helping people to thrive,
Yep.
on the diet, whether it's ketovore or carnivore. It's still all about thriving
Yep.
and getting through the emotion, because a lot of times emotions will tear down your ability to thrive. All right. So just real quick, if anybody's got any questions, please put them in the comments. Please put a Q in front of them so I can find it. I don't see any questions in here. If I skipped over something, um, let me know. Post it again real quick, and we definitely would want to be able to answer your questions. We got Nicole on here, who's got a great background. Brian and Larry, we all come from different aspects. We have different ways of looking at things, but we're all here to promote the diet and help everybody succeed and thrive.
Hey, I'd like to comment real quick if I can get a chance to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think again, honing your skill as a carnivore is also becoming the subject matter expert on yourself, right? And like my son, he's a moderator when he eats. He's always has been. He'd have Halloween candy that I'd throw away because he would never finish it. I was never that guy. I was a hardcore sugar addict, and I still am. I'm a non-practicing sugar addict. And one thing I would say is I would never eat cake because I know my body. And I think that's something you need to learn. Not everyone, a lot of people, it's emotional eating. A lot of people, it's physiological addiction. And a lot is a combination of both. For me, it's probably a combination of both. And so I know my triggers. I know how my body reacts to sugar. So I just don't do it. And that is part of learning yourself. You have to become your own subject matter expert and determine what your boundaries are. And it's not going to be the same as John's or Brian's or mine. Everyone's got their own. And, but to say that everyone could have cake on this diet would be like saying an alcoholic could go have a drink with me and it'd be okay. And it's really not, because they've determined that they lose control when they introduce alcohol. And some people I would lose control on sugar. I guarantee it. I've done it many times. When I was keto, that was part of my downfall, is the hidden sugars in a lot of the quote unquote keto foods out there that really triggered me. And then I fell off multiple times. This is the only diet I've been able to sustain and not be a slave to my addiction. And it is empowering. It's super empowering to take control of your diet and your body. So That's
Yeah.
all I would say.
You can regain that power though. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to, like I was a binge eater. I was a sugar addict. And like I said, I went to therapy and I put in the work to recover. And I can now, we have ice cream in the freezer because my husband buys these Snickers ice creams. I'm not even tempted to eat them. The old me, I would eat the whole damn box. But
Yeah.
I'm just saying not everyone has to abstain. Like, yeah, it's a crap ton of work and it sucks putting in the work, but ultimately you do have the ability to regain control. I'm a firm believer of that. That path to do that just looks different from person to person and how you come to that endpoint. The journey there just looks different, but I'm a firm believer that it is achievable.
Right.
Cool. Ryan?
Yeah, you know, one thing that Carnivore Soldier said was that he knows he's not going to eat a piece of cake because it's going to trigger him. There are certain foods that I would be the same way with. Cookies, it would be a big thing for me. Like, I don't know why, but cookies, like if I have one, I can't just eat one. So that's something I'm going to stay away with. But so I know that there are certain things that I need to stay away from, right? But there are certain things like mashed potatoes that I'll have every once in a while, or rice or something that I will have every once in a while. And I know that I'm okay. I can do that and I can just go right back to what I was doing and I'm fine. So for me, and like everybody's already been saying, it's different for everyone. But for me, I kind of have learned over time here what foods I really need to stay away because they're going to trigger me.
Cool. All right. Well, we ran around that a couple times. I think we've established ourselves on it. Larry, what do you got going on this week?
Got a live stream Wednesday, which is my hump day meetup. And then Friday, I've got an interview. I can't remember who I'm interviewing Friday. I have a Friday interview that'll be published during the week. And then I'm probably going to do I did a post on my YouTube channel on how to do BBBE for a single person for $175 a month, just getting pricing off Walmart. And I'm probably gonna do a video around that where I do a deep dive. It's not a dietary recommendation or anything. It's just basically showing that you could live on between 1,500 and 1,700 calories a day for $175 a month just by going to Walmart using BBBE. That's all it is. So when people talk about it being, oh, it's too expensive, not if you're eating, not if you just plan it. I mean, it's cheaper than the SAD for sure. The standard American diet is way more expensive than that. And so I might do a little video on that and just kind of expand on it a little bit, just to give people hope. And everyone, I don't know how about you guys, I always hear that in all the forums and all the questions. It's so expensive. It can be if you're eating ribeye every day, but I don't. I eat ribeye twice a week maybe. So if you're doing ribeye every day, yeah, it's really expensive. And but I don't. So I don't have to.
Can you find less than 80/20 ground beef in Walmart? I've been hearing a lot of people saying that they can find 70, what is it, 73, whatever ground beef at Walmart. I have a hard time sometimes finding even 80/20. It's either 93% lean or 80 in my grocery store.
Well, so I do add butter to mine all the time, so I don't really care because butter is a high quality fat, right? So I always add butter. But the tube that I was targeting is a 7327 10-pound roll.
Damn.
So you can order them online and pick it up there or whatever. You don't have. But anyway, so they have a 10-pound roll. They're $32 for 10 pounds. So you buy 3 of those, right? You got 90 pounds. I mean 30 pounds for $100. So that's a pound of beef a day. Then you add butter to it, and then you add, the way my menu is basically a pound of beef, 4 eggs, and 2 strips of bacon plus butter every day, and that's a lot of food. That's 1,600 calories, and you can easily add a tablespoon of butter or more to each one of those, and increase each one's 100 more calories. So you could go to 2,000 really easy, just on that, and that is all for less than $200. So.
Yeah, it's very doable. Very doable.
Sure. And the reason
Brian, what do you got going on this week?
The reason I picked Walmart is not because I'm a Walmart fan. It's just because everywhere in America has a Walmart, so I knew it would be a price that someone could relate to. That's all. I don't shop there really. often, but I have.
Not anymore, and I have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not plugging Walmart on this channel.
No, it's not a Walmart plug.
Brian, what do you got going on this week, bud?
So I have a couple of offline interviews that I'm working on this week, and I have the Wednesday Hump Day live with Carnivore Soldier that I'll be on Wednesday. Thursday I have another live. It's the low carb football party live that Greg and I have been doing, and I got it right this time, not like last week. So if you haven't seen, that was the best blooper right off the bat. Anyway, yeah. So,
no, I haven't seen it. No.
Okay. So yeah, so
he started the live with this is our low farts.
3 seconds in too, it's like that we're already live. It's not like it's a recorded thing that you can cut out, edit out. No, it's right at the start. So it was great.
At the beginning of the live. This is our low farts.
But anyway, so that's kind of what I have going on. A couple, like I said, a couple of offline interviews that are going to be scheduled out on the channel. So kind of getting back into doing some of those because I've been doing a lot of lives and really wanted to get back to some of the pre-recorded stuff as well. So that's what I got.
Cool. Nicole, what do you got going on this week?
Keto Palooza. That's my birthday weekend too.
That's up in Louisville, right?
Louisville. Yeah. Louisville.
Louisville.
Yeah, I'm flying down. Yeah, down. Thursday, and I'm meeting up with Nurse Kim. I don't know if you guys know her YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So we're gonna meet up there and go to the conference together. She's gonna bring her air fryer because she lives there. She's about an hour away, and we're gonna do a YouTube live, kind of fry up some steaks or wings, and do a mukbang on stream. So we have a lot of fun things to plan. I'm also gonna vlog. So yeah, I can't promise it's gonna be good, but you will see footage.
All right. That's outstanding. All right. There's everybody's channels. Make sure you give some likes and subscribes. If you haven't followed Nicole on hers, give her a like over at Former Fat Girl. Brian at Wick Goes Carnivore, which I think is actually at Wikivore. Isn't that what it is, Brian? Yeah. And it's at Carnivore Soldier. And of course, you're here on mine, Carnivore Backwoods. I love these round tables because every one of us has our own view of the diet, and none of us are afraid to share it from our point of view. And so it gives you guys the opportunity to see different perspectives all on the exact same subject. We're all thriving. We're all working towards the end goal of being healthier, and stronger and more productive in our lives. And we all have different ways of looking at it. And that's why I love this forum. And I appreciate you guys for being here. I got some questions here. I got to go find it because
Susie complimented Brian on the low farts. So I just have one thing to say about that, Brian.
Those were pretty low.
At least it sounded dry. So that's one thing about this diet is you do have a less quantity of those. We've degraded. All right. We got a question here. Has anybody watched any keto documentaries? If so, what is your favorite? Who wants to go first?
I can. I posted it below. I have a playlist on my YouTube channel where I review documentaries, and I think I have 7 that I reviewed. So check that out. And my favorites so far have been Fat, a documentary, and I also like a really old one, which is the first one that got me into keto back in the day, and that is The Magic Pill. And I think a runner-up would be like that sugar film, which is great. So
Okay. Nicole, I know you've done a lot of reaction videos, but I don't know if there are any of them were keto.
I didn't. So I tried to stay away from documentaries because documentaries, what the health made me go vegan for 4 years. So I've banned all food documentaries. I'm not going to get tricked again.
Understood. Didn't you do a movie or do a review on a movie called The Chocolate Diet there, Larry?
I did. And okay, so this one you might want to watch because this one's really good because it focuses on how people make up these epidemiological studies that don't really have real facts, and they make it determine whatever they want for their outcome, and becomes marketing. And so basically what happens is these two reporters say, hey, all these epidemiological studies are BS, right? We know that. And they're all pointing, and that's why you always see these reports like, oh, walnuts are heart healthy. And this is, and all these, they all contradict each other over time because they're all fake. They're not based on hard science. So they said, well, let's just make up our own study, a chocolate diet, where we're going to make this up and we're going to make it do what we want. And we'll see who falls for it and publishes it. And it went viral and got published by major like fitness magazine and like major institutions, major papers did it. And then TV too, they had it. And the whole premise was, yeah, whatever diet you're already on, we're just going to give you dark chocolate in the morning and it's going to improve results. And it's totally fictional, totally false. That's not true. But they thought, well, if we make this, we'll just make this, we'll use the exact same techniques that the real scientist or scientific community uses to make these reports that food companies buy and sponsor, and we'll just we won't do anything they don't do. We won't make it shady. We're just going to use exactly what they do, and we're going to make a fake report and see who falls for it. And everyone did. And then they came out and said, "Ha, gotcha! It's viral. It's fake." So that's a really good. It's only 1 hour, and all my documentaries have links to watch them for free in the description. So you can go and watch it on YouTube or Tubi. And I would definitely recommend that one because it'll make you look at scientific studies differently. When they're epidemiological studies, which is basically you ask people, how many times did you eat oatmeal last year? And they tell you, well, how accurate do you think that is, right? So this is what they base things on. And then on top of that, they also have correlated. So it's a correlative study. So they'll say this many people ate oatmeal and they died. They had a less cause mortality rate or whatever than people that ate meat because these people said they ate more oatmeal and these ones didn't. Well, what else is going on in their life besides eating oatmeal? Or maybe people eat oatmeal actually exercise and don't sit on the couch all day. Maybe they said you could make the same correlative study and say, well, people who watch HBO are more likely to die from a heart attack because more people did, because that's just correlation, which is not causation. So all these epidemiological studies are all correlative, not causative. And that's the problem. And it really points it out, and it's great. So I'm pretty passionate about that, in case you guys couldn't tell, because I believed all those. I'm sure most of you did. I believed all that heart healthy BS that's all marketing paid for by these companies.
Vegan 4 years.
you bought in too. I bought in the other way, but I was eating all the heart healthy sugar food that's out there, right?
That brings up a good point, and that's what we're talking about here today is anybody can say whatever they want to say, and they can get on and create a channel and say what they want to say. They can say that you can eat this or that, but ultimately you need to really do the research and see what they're saying is actually true, because there's a lot of diet gurus out there on the internet, some of them popping up in the carnivore community that promote certain ways of eating that that if you do a little bit of research into it, you realize that that's just completely out there. But it's a perfect example. If you say something loud enough, long enough, people will start believing it, and they get on these kicks, and they go vegan for 4 years, or they think chocolate's going to cure them, and they're going to start losing weight because they're eating that one piece of chocolate every morning.
Right.
But people believe that, so you really got to stop and think about it. Brian, what's your thoughts?
Well, I have not watched a documentary on keto or even carnivore or anything like that. Really nothing on food, to be honest. So yeah, I've just never had an interest in doing the documentaries. I do my research usually between YouTube and then just other things that I look up online and so forth. And, there's a couple of doctors that I can reach out to and ask questions to if I need to, that I trust, that are in the carnivore community. So that's what I do. I just really haven't gotten into documentaries.
Okay. Well, me either. I haven't watched any documentaries. I did try watching a little bit of that carnivore series that Dr. Barry was on, but it didn't entertain me, so I
Was it
didn't watch it all.
reversed?
Yeah,
Yeah.
reversed. I tried watching some of that, but I didn't even finish watching that. It didn't keep me intrigued enough to watch it. I like Dr. Barry's videos. I just didn't particularly care for for reverse, though I know a lot of people like it. We got another question here. With recovering from sugar/carb addiction, what role do non-diet practices have, like exercise, sunlight exposure? Is that journaling? No. Who wants to start with that one?
I guess
I'll
I
go.
will again. Oh yeah, you go.
Oh, go ahead.
I always pick on Larry. Larry's always somehow mixing this top box.
I don't mind.
I've done this
I go
every week.
first.
It's always Larry.
Go ahead, Larry. Take one for the
Okay.
team.
Okay, so here's the deal.
There we go. You're not in the top box anymore.
Huge fan of non-scale victories because listen, I lost since March 22nd. I've lost 46 pounds. So I went from 280 to 234, and that's not 46 pounds of fat, way more fat than that because I put on muscle and I've put on bone density I guarantee. So my whole body morphology, it just changed. My body mass index, everything's changed. So, and that's great. But the non-scale victories and the mental issues, because mental health has completely changed for me. Exercise, I don't really exercise a lot. I walk a lot. I do occasional band exercises. I don't have a gym membership, so I lift with elastic bands. And that's it. And I put on muscle, like back to where I'm athletic. I do sprint every now and then now because I just feel like it. It feels awesome because I couldn't run for the longest time. Sun, I do walk and I walk barefoot. I like to do the grounding thing. So I walk my dog barefoot in the morning and I usually do it at sunrise to get the sun. I love that. And I think that's part of your mental and physical health. So also journaling. So my journaling has been through this channel pretty much. I'm documenting myself and taking pictures and doing that kind of stuff. So that's kind of my journaling, but definitely recommend that. And I have a planning guide that I set up that's available on my website, carnivoresoldier.com. And that planning guide, I do have metrics that you can check once a month when you start this diet, and none of them are scale related. Everything is, what's your sleep quality like? Do you wake up in a good mood? Like, what's your, are you reading more? Are you, getting sunlight? Are you being outside? Are you spending time with friends? Are you listening to good music? These are things that, when I isolated, I didn't do so well. And now I've incorporated back in my life. So I think that, recovering from sugar and carb addiction, these are part of that for sure. And like I said, then also self-reflecting and learning your triggers and learning your limitations and, setting healthy boundaries. So.
Okay. So when I first started the diet, I started walking, because that was the first thing that, hit my, one, I got all this extra energy and I need to expend it somewhere. So I started going to lunch. Instead of eating lunch, I would just go out and I'd walk, a track over at a park that was near my work. And I started getting in a lot of walking, but that went for the first couple months. But then as soon as the weather and the humidity moved in and it started turning into soup weather, I stopped walking. So I haven't walked all summer. This is the first time I've been back out walking. Was starting this step challenge for October. I don't do any other exercises, and I didn't do exercises to lose weight. I just simply did it for my mental health, because just getting out in the sun and walking is good for you. As for sunlight exposure, everybody claims that you can't get sunburned as a carnivore. You hear it from a lot of different people. I went out and intentionally tried to sunburn myself, and I couldn't do it. And I've been a big fat white guy for a long time. So when I take my shirt off, everybody knows it. And, I was out there and I was able to get a little bit of tan, but I couldn't sunburn myself, which was totally crazy. So I did get a lot of sun exposure all summer long when I could. And I think it helped my overall well-being. Brian, what have you been doing?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is I don't think personally that exercise is needed to lose weight, but I think it helps in feeling healthy because I think it's very good for you. And it doesn't have to be like a specific, like, oh, I'm doing exercise. It's just being active, right? Being active, doing things, not always sitting. Like I have a desk job and then I tend to sit here and do YouTube videos and so forth. So I'm sitting a lot. Well, I need to keep reminding myself to get up and be more active, right? So to me, I think that that's big. That helps, with just working your muscles and so forth. And I think it helps to get some of the inflammation out just by being active and so forth. I really believe in sunlight and getting as much sun as possible for your vitamin D instead of doing supplements, with vitamin D and so forth. Like for instance, if you take a vitamin D supplement, you pretty much would take it every day because, it doesn't stay in your body that long. But 20 to 30 minutes of sunlight is probably good for your body for a few days. So I really believe in getting the sunlight exposure. I agree. It's very hard to get sunburnt. I have a pretty big yard and I'll do 3 hours or more at a time of yard work between cutting the grass and so forth. And I just don't get sunburnt anymore. And, I used to. I would put sunblock on and I'd still get sunburnt. So that's something that's been really big. I'm glad that Larry brought up grounding because I'm a huge proponent of grounding to the earth. I really think that helps with inflammation as well. And anytime I can, I get outside barefoot to walk around and, try and help get myself grounding back in. So I do all those different types of things. The one thing I don't do is journaling. I'm just not big on journaling. So I don't do that.
Okay.
So I want to take a different take on this because I think her question was about carb addiction, not necessarily weight loss. Um, so the four areas I focus on, and in this order, because that's the order of importance, I believe, is mindset, emotion, nutrition, and movement. So when it comes to sunlight, since everyone commented on sunlight does boost your mood, right? It increases your serotonin levels, so it makes you feel good. It just boosts your mood, which is important when you're struggling with. I lump all this into emotional eating. Carb addiction, sugar addiction, boredom eating, stress eating, whatever. It's all emotional eating. So when it comes to exercise does the same thing, and you can literally just walk for an hour a day or a couple sessions for 15 minutes. And the same thing, it boosts your endorphins, it boosts your serotonin, which are all important when it comes to your mindset and managing your emotions, because your body doesn't distinguish between emotions, whether you're happy or depressed or pissed off. Your body doesn't distinguish between emotions. Your physiology responds the same way. Your glucose spikes, your adrenaline's through the roof, your glycogen stores are released to the bloodstream. That's where those cravings for sugary and salty foods and fatty foods and all that stuff comes from. It's your hormonal response, which affects your appetite controlling hormones. So it's like a whole cascading events. So you can't control how your body responds, but you can control how you respond. So without getting too deep, I think journaling is super important. And I always recommend doing this for at least 2 weeks, tracking your mood and feelings, your thoughts, all that stuff before, during, and after your meals, because then you'll start to establish triggers and patterns. Do you turn to specific foods when you're stressed? What foods do you typically turn to? The same when you're bored. What are you typically bored on? I have a client who habitually snacks on popcorn every single night. And in her journal, she'll be like, not hungry, but she's eating popcorn. So it's habitual. So we're starting to unpack that. So I think food journaling, especially in the beginning, is super important because that's the only way you're going to recognize your triggers and your patterns and your habits, because otherwise you're not going to pay attention what you eat during the day. You're not going to remember what you ate during the day. And you're not going to be able to correlate it to your feelings, thoughts, or moods. And then when it comes to non-diet, I believe good practices such as keeping a top 3. So you always have to be comfortable being uncomfortable, because going against your cravings, going against your urges, going against every single thing your brain is telling you to do, which is to eat, going against your cravings is going to be uncomfortable and it's going to suck. So just recognize that and just be comfortable being uncomfortable, because it's going to be uncomfortable. But you have to give your body that couple seconds, because when those cravings are through the roof and you're emotionally hungry, your brain is literally irrational, illogical. So just being able to stop and giving that couple seconds for your brain to shift to logical and rational thought, that's when you can then assess your hunger. Are you emotionally hungry? Did it happen suddenly, abruptly? Are you craving specific foods? Blah, 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 blah. And then come up with the top 3. What do you like to do that calms you, relaxes you, that does not involve food? For me, it's walking, going to the gym, or reading. So find what works for you, and that's the easiest way to get out of that habit of turning to food, because that's really what it is. It's you're using food to fill a void and habit. So just breaking that habit, and then of course promoting low carb will help stabilize your blood sugar and all those things I just described, which in turn will help your hormones and your cravings and all that stuff. So that's my long way of saying that's what I would recommend, and that's kind of a little bit of high level on why those cravings happen and how to kind of start being able to control them.
One thing I want to add, Nicole, when you were talking, it made me realize that in the beginning, when I first started, I actually was journaling what I ate and when I ate it, and I completely forgot about that. So when I first started, I did do that. I no longer do that, and I haven't done it for several months because I'm just so comfortable with where I'm at. But yeah, when I first started out, I was doing that. So that's a really good point. I completely forgot about it.
Interesting.
I'd like to
Go
add
ahead.
too, on top of all the cravings and the physical and emotional cravings, there's also societal pressure that people expect you to interact over meals and going out to do things. So, you don't want to withdraw and become, a hermit in your house because you're eating carnivore, right? So that's part of it too. So it's not just internal. There's tons, and they do suck, but it also sucks kind of because you have to go out in society and still, be part of society and manage that too. So I think there's other forces also involved.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah.
factors, too much to go over in this short little question. But yeah, there's all sorts of stuff. It's your environment. Are you eating in front of the TV to where you're not paying attention to what you're eating? Are you eating while working? Are you at work and taking a working lunch where you're constantly getting interrupted? I mean, there's so many things that can affect it, but the root cause is what you need to focus on in order to overcome those things.
I think, and I'll just throw this out there and we'll move on from the question, but one of the things I like to do, and I tell people, is if you're going to something social, eat beforehand, because then you're at least ways you've controlled the internal pressure, and then you just have to deal with the external pressure. So now you're not hungry, your body's not going, hey, I want to eat. Because if you end up, at a place where all they're serving is pizza and you haven't ate all day, and all this social pressure and people are in your face and they're laughing and they're having a good time, and they're like, yeah, have some pizza, and, you're going to get off diet. So you have to control what you can. That's how you're going to, to thrive on this diet. Let's see here. Looking for questions. Anybody's got a question, please put a Q in front of it. If you would, hit the like button. No matter what channel you're on, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. You make sure you flip over and give these other guys some love too. We do appreciate it. It helps get our message out there, helps push us out to a bigger audience. We're sitting at 44 people in here right now, which is cool.
Nice.
Carnivore Soldier has his playlist here. If you want to see it on his documentaries, this is the good stuff to follow up here. Did it put it in two things here, or what happened here?
Yeah, it broke, so I put another one just with the playlist. If you go a little for a couple lines down, it's just further down.
Oh,
there's another one.
All right, here it is. Okay,
here it is. It was too long apparently, so it broke it in half.
Yeah, you can only put so many characters in there. It makes it really hard to ask a good question some days.
And so
And
let me just say, as far as the documentaries, the kind of the way I look at it is, yes, you can watch them to learn yourself, but also these are nice, and the way I review them, nice to have in your arsenal in case someone asks, hey, what are you doing and why, or they're opposed to it, like a family member, like maybe your spouse is really against it. You can like recommend, hey, why don't we watch this documentary, and kind of help her, because you're not saying it. So if other experts are saying it, it's much easier for people to accept. So that's kind of the idea behind it.
I agree completely. I just did that on another live. Aaliyah Wells had a live with Dr. Tony Hampton, and my wife's daughter Charlotte's getting on the diet, but she's taking Wegovy, which if you know anything about that, it's the same thing as Olympic, or I can't pronounce that one, but it's a diet drug that people are taking to lose weight. It's got a lot of nasty side effects that people don't realize. And so I asked the question in there after inviting her into the live so that Dr. Tony would answer it, and that she would get those words from somebody else other than me on purpose, so that she would, get it from a professional to say, hey, this is what's going on. Because I've already said it once, but then she's like, oh, I didn't realize it was that bad. I'm like, yeah, it really is that bad. All right.
There's a lawsuit on Ozempic, actually, and I think there's all those other drugs are lumped in because they didn't disclose a gastritis, which is not reversible. And this poor woman, one of the women who were suing Ozempic, lost all of her teeth because she was vomiting that much. And it's literally reversible. Thankfully, she's mild or moderate, but if it's severe, it can cause, I think it can cause death. I'm not sure. I don't know a whole lot about it, but from what I read, but yeah, and there's more lawsuits coming. So, I mean, those side effects are serious, and there's side effects that aren't even disclosed. So there could be side effects that you don't even know that can cause reversible damage to your health by taking those drugs. So yeah, so from what I understand, there's actually more lawsuits coming, but that is a lawsuit that actually is in the works.
I think Dr. Chafee said it best when he said drugs don't have side effects, they have effects.
Yeah.
And these are effects. And when people call them side effects, it kind of minimizes them, but these are effects. And that's pretty serious. Yeah.
That's a great point. It's a great point. Nicole's got a video on this where she talked about the lawsuit. And I just, now that she brought that up, it reminded me because I've watched her video on it. You should definitely go check that out. If you guys are taking those drugs, the scary thing is the number of people that I know taking it. And if you don't realize it, but there's people, and I think it's like $1,000, $1,500 a month for this drug. Mm-hmm. And there are people taking it, and you're going to lose weight, and you're going to drop it, but you're also losing muscle. It's like 30 or 40% of your weight loss comes from your muscle mass. This is bad news. So this is definitely something that people need to be educated on and learn about, because there's no miracle pill to lose weight. And this is going to have long lasting side effects on people's health. Now, the good news is there's something that you can do that has the exact same effect. It's called the carnivore keto diet. It has the exact same effect, and you don't have to take a pill or medicine or pay $1,500 a month for it. You can do like Larry did down here and say you can do this for under $200 a month just in your grocery bill, which you were going to pay for anyways, which was probably going to be 4 times that amount. So the great thing is there's a better answer, but there's a lot of people. I can probably name off 12 people right off the top of my head who are actively taking this shot to lose weight, and I'm like, you're absolutely insane. There's no miracle cure. This is going to have a long-term health effect on you. And it's like, I don't know, 70-80% of the people who are on this, once they get off of it, they immediately gain all that weight back. So it's not something you can do long-term unless you plan on being medicated for the rest of your life. You're not going to be able to maintain the weight loss. The good news is on carnivore, you can do this for the rest of your life. It's easy to do. It's simple. It's beef, butter, bacon, eggs, and roll on. You keep doing that, and you can add a few other proteins in there along the way, or you can do like Nicole here and add a few things back into your diet that work for you, and still maintain your weight, still maintain your health, and be successful. Whereas, this miracle cure is not going to be long term, and you're going to see people who are dying, having problems with their health, who are going to be there's lawsuits coming out. It's absolutely scary, and I'm going to get off here because you got me ranting, but yeah, it's horrible. Anybody want to throw anything else in there before we leave it the topic?
Yeah, you can. So I have a client, we're so close on reversing his type 2 diabetes. He's now pre, and we're hoping when he goes back next month, he'll be completely reversed. And his doctor still put him on, when we got him from type 2 to pre, his doctor still put him on Trulicity and all that. So I think it's important to know, like, don't, blatantly go against your doctors. I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving advice. Just know that it's your body, your choice, right? It's your decision what you put in your body. When I was diagnosed with high blood pressure, when I was obese and fat and overweight and just unhealthy, I said no. I was like, let me try to lose weight. Not one doctor with sleep apnea, high blood pressure, all those were obesity induced. Not one doctor talked to me about lifestyle, losing weight, diet, anything. They just gave me my CPAP machine, gave me a prescription. I took the CPAP machine to save my marriage because this little body snored really loud. But I didn't take the drug. I didn't take the high blood pressure drug. So all I'm saying is do your research. Just because your doctor prescribes you something doesn't mean you have to get it filled or take it. It's your choice. Your doctor is not, your doctor cannot force you to take anything. You can always fire your doctor, find a new doctor. Now, again, I'm not saying go against your doctor. What I am saying is do your research, get all the information before you decide to do something that's drug related. But a lot of people feel like like my client filled it because his doctor told him to, and he thought he had to do what his doctor says. So I think the important thing for you to know, all the listeners, is you do not have to take whatever your doctor gives you. It is your decision. If you think it's best that you don't take it, then don't take it. Just make sure you have all the information before you decide what to do. So that's the big message I want to get across, because like I said, I have clients who are doing well with their diet and their doctor's still prescribing something and they fill it even though they're feeling great, because they feel like they have to because their doctor prescribed it. So that's the big thing I want to put away. You're in control of your health and you're your biggest advocate. You can take the prescription, say thank you very much. That doesn't mean you have to fill it.
I agree. And I'm pushing 50, and I can remember there used to be something that people used to say all the time that nobody talks about anymore. And that's, did you get a second opinion?
Yeah.
Just because your doctor said this doesn't mean that your doctor is the most up, to date, researched, best knowledge, the smartest man in the room, and he knows what's going on. You need to get a second opinion. You need to do the research on your own. There's some great resources out there to find. I think dietdoctor.com is one. There's a couple of keto ones. Get on there, search for, a doctor that's more metabolic health than, and treating your health issues metabolically versus treating it with prescriptions. Because you have to remember, a doctor, they treat your condition. They're not about curing your condition. Curing your condition is a whole different story, and you need to find doctors that are wanting to cure your condition, because most doctors, all they want to do is, here's a prescription, here's what you're going to do. They, in their head, and they don't say it out loud, they're like, well, these are the effects of this drug, and this is the benefit of this drug, and my risk assessment is that you're probably not going to get healthy, so I'm just going to put you on this drug, and you're going to continue on. My wife's a nurse, and we've had this discussion, and that's how they view it. And they won't necessarily have this discussion with you to make you, so that you can have this decision. They're going to make it for you. So yeah, when it came to my statins, they had me on statins, and I had to come off it because it was causing me muscle cramp and weight gain. I just had to physically tell the doctor, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to take a statin. This is not an open subject for discussion. This is exactly what I'm going to do. I will work with you on anything else related to my health, but when it came to those statins, I had made a decision that wasn't going to happen anymore. Anybody else want to throw in there?
Yeah, I just want to say that I like how you said it's not a cure, right? Keep in mind, now I don't want to tell somebody not to take a medication, because there might be a good reason that they need to take a medication and so forth. But a medication prescription is a temporary, a Band-Aid thing. It's not the fix of the cause, right? So keep that in mind. You're just Band-Aiding something, and the pharmaceutical company is looking at it as, okay, we're just going to temporarily Band-Aid it, and you keep temporarily Band-Aiding it, and we're making money because you're using our medication all the time. We're not fixing the actual cause of the problem. You need to go deeper for the cause of the problem. And in most of the cases that we're talking about here, it's diet that is the cause. And that's what you need to fix is your diet, not necessarily that, oh, I need to take this medication. And everything that's been said here is completely right. That there's no magic pill for losing weight. If you take a medication, there's going to be side effects. And if you stop taking that and you haven't changed what caused you to gain weight in the first place, you're just going to gain the weight back.
Yeah. So I lost weight back in 2012, got down to about where I'm at right now. And my blood pressure was still through the roof, even with all the weight gain or with all the weight loss. And I was taking my blood pressure medicine. But on Carnivore, and I have a video on this that you guys can go see, and I have it all documented, month in and month out, my average blood pressure level. On Carnivore, through proper nutrition and losing weight, my blood pressure dropped dramatically. To where now I'm only on one pill a day versus the three that I was taking, and I plan on being off that last pill before I hit my 1 year mark on this diet. So it's about nutrition. Weight loss is important, but it's about being healthy and nutrition. So good stuff, guys. Larry, anything you want to throw in there?
Yeah, my sister is also on that, dropping her blood pressure and weight, and now she's cutting back and removing medicines. And you guys are right. The doctors, and it's not their fault, they're trained this way, unfortunately, but because the organizations that control the institutions that train them, that teach them how to be a doctor, have been basically bought and paid for by big pharma and food companies. So what they're being taught how to do is manage symptoms. And they manage symptoms with drugs with no plan to cure the underlying disease. And like everyone said here, it is food. And a lot of these documentaries show that where type 2 diabetes is being completely reversed, not in years, but in weeks and months, strictly through diet. And people are getting rid of the insulin and drugs they're on. And, that's just proof in the pudding, right? And you can say, well, that's anecdotal. You get enough anecdotal stories and they become evidence for a theory, right? And so the theory becomes very strong when you get more and more. We have tons of evidence that you can reverse type 2 diabetes just through diet and improve blood sugar management and type 1 diabetes just through diet. There's a lot of things you can do through diet, epilepsy, seizures. It's just so much. And then on top of that, just add in everything we've added, metabolic syndrome that we have now that I grew up never heard of insulin resistance or metabolic syndrome back in the 70s. Never heard of it. I don't think it really existed in mass like it does now. So like I like to say, when I grew up, almost all the kids were skinny. There was the occasional fat kid. And all my neighbors' parents were skinny. Some were out of shape, but there were no huge obese. Now I go down my street and I say 50, 60% are obese, and a portion of them were morbidly obese. That's new. That was not the way it was in the 70s. So anyway, that's all I got.
All right, good stuff. All right. So for those of you grounding, I just found this humorous. So Keto Cheeto says, wrong one. He's got lightning bolt here, right? He says grounding in the rain. So that made me laugh. We've got a question down here. PG and it says, I know a lot of people eat beef. What is your favorite beef and how do you prepare it? We'll see how this panel goes. This question comes up a lot and it's always the same answers. All right. Larry, go first.
I still go first? Okay. All right. I don't mind because my answer is ground beef is my go-to because it's cheap. It's excellent. It's got the exact macronutrient balance you want. If it doesn't, I add butter. So I make it, and I like to grill mine. So I recognize a lot of that fat is going into the grill. So I just add butter. So, and I listen to my body. I don't count any macros. I never have on this diet. I have eaten when I was hungry and eaten to satiety, just eating the proper foods. And that's the only thing I listen to now. Now, occasionally, a couple nights a week, 1 or 2 nights a week, I'll have ribeye, and I love that. I do the air fryer ribeye typically. It's frozen and throw right in the air fryer, and it's by the time it's medium rare in the middle, it's crispy on the outside. I have a recipe on my site. If you guys want to check it out, it's amazing. Those are my 2 favorite beef. And then one other thing I would do is crock pot meats, whether it's a roast or whatever, I throw some of that in there. I have some right now in a crock pot, just basically till it forks apart. And I always add butter and salt to it. Big surprise. That's what I do. So,
Nicole?
I can eat hamburger patties all day, every day. So I buy the they have Brian would know Harris Teeter we have here. I'm not sure if it's a national chain or what, but it's here in Virginia, and they have these premium cuts of hamburger patties, and it's my favorite. One is brisket and chuck, and the other one is just a premium blend, and I'm not sure what cuts of meat in there, but it's very, very flavorful. I actually am gonna pound 2 for dinner, but yeah, I can eat that every day, and I cook it in the oven, and I put butter on each patty, so it cooks in the butter juices. And then similar to Larry, I will cook all of my steaks, all of my meats in the crock pot, and I'll put ghee and then beef bone broth in there, and just let it simmer, and it just like melts in your mouth.
Making me hungry over here.
yeah.
Brian, how about you, bud?
Well, my favorite is definitely ribeye. I will.
Knew it was coming.
Yeah, I know it's the most expensive, and I don't eat it all the time, but that is definitely my favorite. It just has the right amount of fat content for me, and I like to salt the steak like the day before, let it sit in the fridge for like 24 hours. I just use Redmond's real salt, and then I have a pellet grill, and that cooks it pretty evenly. I go medium rare on my steaks, sometimes maybe even a little closer to rare, to be honest, but medium rare for the most part. And that's definitely my favorite. I would say something to try and go with something that's just not so expensive, so that people aren't always thinking that, oh, just carnivore is expensive. Chuck, taking chuck roast and putting it in the crock pot, and letting it cook all day, get nice and tender, and just a little bit of water in there and salt, and it gets a nice little broth in there with it. And that's a good one too that I like to do.
Cool. I if I could afford it, I would eat ribeye every single day of the week. 365 days of the year. But obviously, when I could find it on sale, I stock up on it as much as I can. But most of the time, when it's over $9, $10, $12, $13, $14 a pound, I will go for a lesser cut of meat. I will go for a chuck steak. I will go for a sirloin. Then, of course, I'm always adding butter to all that. I love ground chuck. Ground chuck is my go-to. It's normally, in that 70-30 range, of fat, which is great. It's got a good flavor to it. It's one of the more flavorful of the beef. So when you're eating, ground beef, it's not the as plain as some of the other ones. It brings more to the party, as I like to say. I do find from time to time that Sam's Club has ground ribeye, and actually at a reasonable cost. I think I picked it up, for like $5-6 a pound, these little ground ribeye patties. And I have a Blackstone grill, so I will go out there and I have a smasher, and I will go out there and I will make smash burgers with ground ribeye. And that is phenomenal. That is really good eating. So ribeye is my favorite, but my second would probably be chuck. I eat a lot of chuck when it comes to beef. Whether it's chuck steak or chuck burgers.
One more thing. Anyone out there in Texas, HEB has ground Wagyu. And that is the amazing burger. And it's not too expensive. So if y'all want to treat yourself, get some Wagyu burgers. They're pretty amazing. HEB.
I'll have to do that. I don't think I've really ever had Wagyu. I never really went looking for it because, the price on it used to be so ridiculous. But I think it's got cheaper lately.
Mm-hmm. Good flavor. That's all. A lot of fat.
And this Charlotte says there's many lawsuits from a lot of different side effects from the drug. I'm pretty sure we're going back to the Wegovy and whatnot. Absolutely, there's a whole bunch of it out there, and it's bad stuff. Here, anyone here treat
Small intestine bacterial overgrowth? Yes, that is.
Well, thank you for clarifying that one, Nicole.
I got you. So yeah, so the bacteria in your gut microbiome feeds off fiber, right? So if you have SIBO, it is recommended that you follow a low fiber diet. So by default, following a carnivore diet will, I'm not going to say reverse, I'm not going to say cure. I don't want to get anyone demonetized because God forbid. It can improve your SIBO. It can make you feel a ton better. I hope that's okay, YouTube. So it can make you feel a lot better because you're not feeding your bacteria. And over time, as you change your diet, your gut microbiome changes with your diet too, which is a good thing. But yes, if you do suffer from SIBO, following a low fiber or a carnivore diet can help because you're not feeding the gut bacteria and it's not getting back too much bacteria, because that's essentially what SIBO is. It's too much bacteria. It's excess bacteria in your small intestine, bacteria overgrowth. That's what the BO is. So yes. So if you don't feed your bacteria, your gut bacteria, then you won't have the overgrowth and the bacteria issue that causes nausea, weight gain, and all these nasty side effects, even malnutrition in some cases. So yeah, so carnivore can absolutely help with that. I hope the wording of that is okay with the YouTube world. I'm not sure what's acceptable anymore.
I think you can say that it's the best practice to
Best
eat
practice,
a low fiber
yes.
diet, and that's true because it just is. I mean, that's what I like to use for language.
So I'd never heard of that before. So I'm glad you were here to answer that, Nicole, because I would have had no idea on that one. That would have been one of those questions where I look over at my wife and have her answer because she's a nurse, but she's not here right now. So I would have been definitely wrong. All right. Any questions? Make sure you put a Q in front of them. This person says, thanks for being bold enough to discuss this RX topic. Absolutely. You know, some of the boldest people in the room are right here on these 4 channels. We all have our opinions and we all have no problem sharing them. All right. I'm just going to pop through here. I'm day 7 of Carnivore. I already seen a lot of positive change. I already lost 12 pounds. Outstanding. Huzzah. Yeah.
You're on your way. You're on your way, bro.
Need a sound effect from Nicole on that one. She's falling behind on her sound machine over there.
Oh, sorry.
There it is. All right. It's around $1,800 to $2,000 out of pocket, but insurance is around $100 for 3 months worth. So that's the Wegovy, but that's still a lot of money. Still a lot of money. I'd much rather spend $100 on beef and be healthy.
Yep. That's half a month of BBBE.
Yeah. Doc was trying to get me on it. Glad insurance didn't approve me for it. 3 months on Carnivore now. I've dropped 50 pounds. Wow. There's another one to call for you.
There you go, Michael. That's awesome.
Charlotte says, Michael, I'm on it. I already dropped around 20 pounds. I've been on Wegovy for 8 months or so. Let's see here.
There was a question at 2:12 p.m.
Okay. I'm going to throw that one up while I find it.
Yeah.
2:12. Okay. Says, doc didn't tell me, and that's the point. The doctor won't tell you. They're going to make a decision and they're going to provide it to you, but they don't give you all the facts. And it's unfortunate. I think that they should be required to give you all the facts so that you can make an informed decision. But that's my personal belief. And whether that'll ever happen, I don't know. All right. Question, seasonings. What you go to, and while on Carnivore, can you use any seasonings you want to cook with? Brian, you want to start with that one? I haven't picked on you yet today.
Sure. So first, I'd like to say that, yeah, you can eat seasonings, it don't get caught up in what other people tell you is the right thing to eat and to do. Do what is best for you. And if somebody else says, "Oh, that's not really carnivore," oh well, too bad. That's what you're doing, and that's what works for you. Okay, so that's the first part. So if you think that you should have certain seasonings and it helps you, then do it. I would suggest kind of staying away from seasonings that have a lot of sugar in them or something like that. Personally, I don't really use seasoning very often. Usually it's just Redmond's real salt. Occasionally I do have some stuff that I got from Costco. It's like a pork barbecue rub, and I will occasionally use that on something. Um, but it's pretty clean. It's got different spices in it or whatever, but it's for the most part it's pretty clean, and I just do it occasionally. So most of the time I'm just using salt, but that's me. There's other people I know that they use different types of seasonings, whether it's garlic powder or something, all the time, and they don't have any problems with it, and it works for them. So that's great. It works for them.
Cool. I would just make sure that you read the ingredients, you know what's in it. Not all seasonings are created equally. And if you look at some of these seasonings, a lot of them are laced full of sugar, especially barbecue seasonings. That seems to be the number one ingredient for barbecue seasonings is we're going to add brown sugar, or we're going to hide it in 50 other different names for it. So, just read your ingredients like you would anything else to see what's in there. And then, but me personally, I just find that I don't even crave seasonings anymore. It doesn't even seem like it improves anything for me anymore. I used to use a lot of garlic salt, and I used to use a lot of different seasonings, but now all I use is salt. And I took Brian's suggestion. I salted some steaks beforehand and let them sit in the salt. That actually improved the flavor, and I was pretty impressed with that. But yeah, I really don't find me needing to use seasonings anymore. I used to use a lot of garlic and garlic salts and all this stuff, and if I put that on a steak, it doesn't even taste to me like it's even really on there. Nicole, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I kind of align with Brian here. I don't believe you really have to be that strict or dogmatic about it. If you want to use seasoning, use seasoning. If it doesn't affect you, then it's all good. I don't think you have to get that crazy and into the weeds with it, honestly. As long as you're eating predominantly animal foods and you're feeling good, a little bit of garlic powder isn't going to ruin the world and make you gain a ton of weight back. But I eliminated seasoning. I used to cook in a lot of seasoning. Now pepper bothers me. It actually upsets my stomach and makes me sneeze and all these things now. And same with onion. But if it doesn't bother you, then go for it. I honestly, you don't have to get that into the weeds. Even like Brian said, no matter what people do on YouTube and how strict they are, if they're just like steak and butter and that's all they do and they don't do anything else, that doesn't mean you have to do that. So that's just my take on it. I just don't get that into the weeds with things. I don't think it's that serious or I don't think that's something you have to do.
I would agree with that, and I would throw out there just to expand on what you said there. There are some seasonings that will cause you issues, and so you need to identify those. Black pepper is one of those that stands out where you can definitely have issues that you didn't realize you were having before on your STAT diet, but now that you're on carnivore or ketovore, that you start some of these seasonings in there, you may have reactions to them, and so you may need to curb some of these out of your diet. Larry?
Yeah, so I would agree with that, this is an elimination diet, and you'll never know if you don't cut it out if it affects you. How about that? Because if you never cut pepper out of your diet and you continue eating it, you don't know how healthy you could have been without it. The oxalates, could be affecting you in ways you don't know. And once you cut everything out and then reintroduce them after you've been clean for a while, that's when you, just like the pineapple issue you had, right? So it's she never would have known if she never cut pineapple out. And you still probably get weight loss. So it depends on your goals too. If you're strictly just getting weight loss and that's all you want, then yeah, probably not as important. I would recommend staying with real seasonings such as paprika, onion powder, salt, one item seasoning, not like these mixes like this. And I love this one because this says hardcore carnivore. There's nothing carnivore about this. It's got corn protein isolates in it. It's got, so don't trust a label ever. Look at the ingredients, and if the ingredients look like that, that's a no-go, pretty much, because it's got all kinds of sugar in it, and that will cause issues for you. It could stall your weight loss. So even in just the weight loss, let alone the other stuff, it can definitely affect it. So if you are going to do it, and what I did is I started out with salt and pepper, cut the pepper out when I ran out. And I was like, okay, after a month, I'm out of pepper. I'm not going to buy it. And then just kept going. And then, like I said, I reintroduced the smoked garlic powder, and it didn't do anything for me. So it's still in my cabinet. I just don't use it. And I didn't go buy any other ones. I'm like, I really don't need paprika or any of this stuff. Once you get to this point, your relationship with food changes so drastically that you'll have to reevaluate. I think everyone needs to reevaluate for themselves. So I agree. If your goal is just to lose weight, then you could probably season and continue to season. But if your goal is to optimize your performance health-wise and in this diet and get the maximum results in the shortest amount of time, I would do a clean diet to start with, and then bring things back in and reintroduce them and evaluate.
It's great advice. Absolutely. I agree. All right. Let's see what we got in here. I'm not sure what Keto Cheeto's up to here. Blown his mind with a bird. And he's got this one here. Anybody figure that one out?
Wegovy
cause someone to die.
Sneezing, headache, sick, death, afterlife.
Yep.
Right,
the shot killed him.
It's like a test. Emoji, translation test here. All right, let me see. Any more questions in here?
There are questions. There's a couple beyond that one. I saw. There's a couple.
Give me a time frame.
Let me look.
227 or 217.
Yep.
217.
And then 221 and 223. So I see 3 of them in there.
Yeah.
Oh, I see it. There it is. There's 217. So,
JP asks this all the time, man. I give you the same answer. I heart you, but dude, prebiotics are plant stuff, and it just feeds your gut microbiome. You don't need it. It's bacteria for your gut. You're good. You don't need it at all.
Agreed.
The prebiotics are plant prebiotics for plants. We're not plants. We don't need it. It doesn't do anything for us, but feeds our gut, which, as we learned earlier, can lead to other things like SIBO if you have too much. So it's truly not needed. It's not essential to live and to be healthy. It's non-essential. So I personally don't recommend things unless there's a reason you cannot get it from your diet. And prebiotics, one, is not essential, so we don't need it in our diets at all anyway. But I don't push supplements unless there is a legit reason why you can't get it from your food. Supplements are to supplement what you can't get from your food, things that your body actually needs, and prebiotic is not one of those things.
Yep. I would say that if you look at ancestral diets, there are people that have lived on these diets for whatever you believe, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years, right? And they did not supplement with prebiotics because they didn't know what they were, if they existed even. And you can look at people who live today on ancestral diets, like the Maasai tribe or the Inuit, and they have no prebiotics, and they don't have the Western diseases we have either. They have none of the Western diseases and no prebiotics whatsoever. And supplements, a little mineral we need because we don't drink stream water anymore or pond water. So I think, salt, and we also, drain blood out of meat, where back in the old days, they didn't have block and tackle. They killed and they ate what they killed with blood in it, which has tons of electrolytes. So, doing magnesium and salt as needed is probably what we need on a modern diet in industrial food society.
Cool. Anybody else got thoughts on that question before I move? Okay. So we got a question here. It says, how do you add calories on just carnivore diet or normal diet? Is it much easier since there are carbs? Any advice?
I add butter, and that's easier than carbs. You just get a tablespoon of butter, and throw it on your meat. You just added 100 calories. Boom, that easy.
So I don't count calories. I don't even care what the calories are.
I don't either.
I eat till I'm full, and then I eat again when I get hungry. I don't ever count calories. Calories is a man-made measurement. They went in and they just basically burned food and figure out how much heat it released. Well, that's not how the body reacts to food anyway. So it doesn't really add up to a legitimate number. And 1,000 carbs of sugar versus 1,000 carbs of beef is going to be not carbs. I mean, 1,000 of calorie versus 1,000 of beef is going to be completely different. There's so much more nutrition in beef that's going to fill you up a lot quicker than a whole bunch of empty calories and sugar. So that's my thought. Nicole?
Yeah, this is very nuanced, and it depends on what your goals are, what your diet currently looks like. I mean, it's hard to kind of answer without more information. Just adding calories on a carnivore diet. I mean, I eat a variety of meat. There's nothing that says you have to stick with beef either. Sometimes I'll have chicken. Sometimes I'll have fish. Sometimes I get tired of beef and I'll throw in ground turkey. So you don't have to just stick with beef if it's a struggle for you to eat food because you're tired of one thing, or I don't know what the issue is in your particular case, what you're struggling with. But yeah, you can add things like butter, ghee, tallow. You can bacon grease. You can save your bacon grease in mason jars and use that for cooking is an easy way to do it. But the easiest thing is beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. It's very balanced. You're getting balanced nutrition. And just listen to your body's signals. I don't know how long you've been doing carnivore, if you're in a transitional phase. So for me, I think I would like to know how long you've been carnivore, and on a high level, are you eating predominantly beef or beef, butter, bacon, and eggs? Like, what are you predominantly eating? Because that'll help me figure out where you are and where you want to go, because this is just a very generalized question that can go a number of different ways depending on a lot of different things.
So I would say Yuri. I would say that's how that's pronounced. Go ahead and answer her questions. Give it to us a little bit better worded, and maybe we can get you a better answer to your question. He does put here, my objective is to add muscle. Will carnivore diet help me achieve this? Absolutely. I would say that it will, because you're going to be adding a lot of protein, and protein is going to turn into muscle. Anybody want to add on that while I look through here?
I've added a lot of muscle and not even working out much. I'm back to my athletic self. I feel like I'm going back to my college days, where I feel myself sprinting and doing push-ups. At 57, I'm 57, guys. So I'm not a young guy, and I'm not going to outrun some 20-year-old kid, but I can definitely chase down a 57-year-old. I can probably chase down most 50-year-olds out there. So it definitely puts on muscle. And I work out 40 minutes per week, not per day, per week. I do 4 10-minute sessions of working out, and I put on muscle big time. So it's anabolic for sure. There's an anabolic aspect to eating the proper human diet.
Yeah. I went hiking last weekend with the wife. We went to 6 different waterfalls. I put on 5 pounds, not because I got off diet, not because I gained fat. It's because I gained a crap load of muscle just out there walking around. So yeah, you'll put on muscle on this diet. Brian?
Yeah, I completely agree. And I recently, probably the last couple months, I haven't really worked out at all, and I still feel like there's good muscle there, that I'm gaining muscle and so forth. Just with eating this way, you gain muscle, and look at like Dr. Anthony Chafee. I mean, he eats this way, and look at the muscle he's got. I think that there's a stereotype out there that if you really want to bulk up, that you have to eat carbs, and that's just incorrect. It's not true at all. There's plenty of people out there that do not eat carbs, that eat a carnivore style diet, that can bulk up very well. So that's just an incorrect idea that's out there that people go with.
Nicole, you want anything to throw in there before I move on to the next question?
Nope.
No? All right. So this question, I don't know, this is a funny question. How many chicken nuggets would each of you have to consume for you to completely blow out the bathroom?
0, because I don't eat that garbage.
I was going to say, I haven't had a chicken nugget, since I started the diet. So I don't have an answer to that.
I have not either. Not a single chicken nugget. So I don't know.
Let's see here. Do any of you fast regularly? I do. I do it every other week. I'm fasting right now for a 48-hour fast. We started last night, and I won't eat again until tomorrow evening, probably right around 6 p.m., 7 p.m. Eastern. So I'll get about a 48-hour fast in. I do, like I said, I do that every other week, and it helps immensely on dealing with my overall health. But I was a big man and I've lost a lot of weight, so I'm starting to get that sagging skin, and fasting and autophagy helps reduce that. So that's my plan and my vision towards doing it. Anybody else?
I do OMAD, so wasn't on purpose. So I unintentionally fast. I don't believe in intentionally fasting because that's a stress to your body, because if your body is telling you you're hungry and you're not feeding it on purpose, that is a stress to your body. So I don't believe in intentionally fasting for no purpose. I think the longer you do this, you may find that you naturally land on TUMAD or OMAD. I naturally landed on OMAD. More recently, I've been going back and forth between OMAD and TUMAD. But unless there's a specific medical test or something that you're prepping for that you have to intentionally fast outside of medical procedures, there's truly no reason to fast. If you're hungry, then eat. If you're not, if you're full, then stop. But if you're hungry and you on purpose avoid eating, that's not good.
I agree.
I do OMAD and TUMAD as well, and I've landed there. But sometimes I will fast, and I believe that ancestral diets, ancestrally, people didn't have food every day. It wasn't always available. If they didn't get a kill, they didn't eat. I've done Army survival school in the Arctic, and we didn't eat every day because we didn't have food every day. And so I think our bodies are designed to handle that, like you said, John, with the autophagy, which is a great mechanism, right, to help heal a body. So I think certain mechanisms are engaged when you do fast. I don't do it typically, though. I mean, the longest I usually go is 24 hours and that's an OMAD, right, where I have one meal. And then instead of starting the other meal 2 hour in a 2 or 3 hour window early, I just wait till the end of the 24 hours and then I have my second meal. So that's like a 24-hour fast, which is fine. But I don't think there's any problem. I don't think it's going to put you in a bad situation because our bodies are designed to do this, I believe. So they're designed to make it without food.
And I don't do any long-term fasting or anything like that. I do intermittent fasting just because of the way I eat. I'm typically TUMAD. Sometimes it's OMAD, but I've never gone more than like 24, 25 hours or so fast for a fast. And typically, like, I'll eat maybe like around noon, 1 o'clock, and then again like around 6 p.m. and I don't eat again until like noon, 1 o'clock again. So that's where my intermittent fasting happens, and I do that pretty much every day.
I am OMAD and TUMAD back and forth, and it sounds like every one of us is in agreement. Sometimes I can go all week and I'll just eat one meal a day, and then sometimes I have to eat 2 meals a day for a week. It's just basically depends on what my body's doing. But I will throw this caveat out: I don't fast unless I ate properly the night before. So I'm going to eat a high protein, high fat meal. It's going to be complete. It's going to be, it's going to be a good beef. It's going to have some butter added, probably some eggs. It's going to be a really good meal because I need to carry that 48-hour period for my end goal of autophagy. But if you go in light and you go in with something where you didn't get the nutrition that you needed, it'll be miserable 48 hours. So that's always my plan. So last night we had steak. It was chuck steak, had a lot of butter, had some eggs with it. Some, I think there was my wife made these little roll ups with the egg wraps and cheese and some meat in it that was really good. So I ate really well last night. So I'm not even thinking about food or hungry right now, and I can carry myself through for the 48 hours. But that's all about having that plan in advance before you do it. All right, guys, we are pushing the 140 mark. I respect each of these guys' time. I tell them we'll never go longer than 2 hours. So we're 20 minutes from the 2 hour mark. So I'm going to start speeding through the questions. If you got a question you want answered, make sure you get a big Q in front of it, because I'll probably miss it if it's not marked that way. And I appreciate each and every one of you for being on the channel today. I ask you guys to reach out and hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button on the channel, give these guys some love on their channel. Let me take this off the screen here. You got Nicole at Former Fat Girl, you got Brian at Wig Goes Carnivore, and you got Larry here at Carnivore Soldier, and of course I'm at Carnivore Backwoods. So the next question I got on here is from Charlotte. Electrolytes, there was a trend on TikTok where people added Himalayan salt and lemon or lime to their water. Is Himalayan salt with lemon or lemon juice a good way to get electrolytes in it? Quick answer.
This is my pet peeve. I'll go.
Okay.
So what drives me crazy is I hear a lot of advice when people ask about my weight loss is stalled or just anything. The candid advice is up your fat, take electrolytes. I don't like that answer, because there is a such thing as too little electrolytes. There is also a such thing as too much electrolytes, right? Both can essentially land you in the hospital and be serious. So unless you're having side effects, like too little side effects, like if you have heart palpitations or extreme fatigue or diarrhea, vomiting, dehydration, muscle cramps, confusion, tiredness, and things like that, you don't really need electrolytes. You should be able to get everything you need in food. Another thing is you're also not consuming a lot of carbs, because the glucose, your body's always going to preference glucose first, right? So the glucose component, as well as the fiber component, interferes with the absorption of vitamins and minerals, to include electrolytes. So if you're not eating a high carb diet, a high fiber diet, you have no interference. So you're actually absorbing more of those vitamins and minerals. Too much electrolytes can also land you in the hospital. I landed in the hospital. My organs were shutting down from too little electrolytes when I was sick. So I was vomiting and I had it coming out both ends. So I landed in the hospital. Too much can be dizziness, vomiting, diarrhea, hyperkalemia, which is too much potassium. It can affect your heart. It can affect your kidney function. So these can be very, very serious things. So I don't promote taking electrolyte supplements unless you have to, because if you take too much, you can end up in the hospital or have some serious things going on just as taking too little. So unless you have side effects like some of what I just mentioned, then there's truly no need for you to supplement, because like I said, if you take too much, that could be just as serious as taking too little. So that's why I don't like that candid take electrolytes or up your fat, because fat has side effects too if you have too much of it. But that's why that's one of my pet peeves, is because these side effects can be serious, and people just recommending taking electrolytes just to take electrolytes. I just don't agree with that. That's my soapbox. Sorry, but that drives me crazy.
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. When you first start the carnivore diet or ketogenic diet, you're going to eat a lot, and then you're going to feel what's called the keto flu, which is partially low electrolytes and partially addiction to carbs that you're getting over. In that case, yes, you take them while you have that. And I don't take any now. I just eat salted meat. That's what I eat, and butter. That's salted butter, salted meat. That's all. I don't take. I do take magnesium occasionally if I get cramps. That's very rare. So I would say that, and what I did for my electrolytes was I drank dill pickle juice, which is technically not carnivore, but it's full of electrolytes. A lot of athletes do it. It works really well. And for me, it satiated me too. It helped me with my cravings. So if you're having cravings and you're starting this diet out and you're getting the keto flu, then maybe dill pickle juice would be a good thing for you. Or you can just do salt and water, which I did some of that too. So that's it. But I don't take it now. I don't take any electrolytes.
Brian?
Oh, I completely agree with what's been said here. Early on, you may need to take them, but again, that's because you're low on them. If you're not low, then there's no reason to take it. And I completely agree with Nicole about, that you got to be careful and not take too many electrolytes.
All right, Keto Cheeto, how many eggs does everyone eat in a day?
4. I can't eat more than 4 in one sitting. Blech.
I'll eat like maybe. Well, I was gonna say I'll eat like maybe 2 or 3 eggs once a week, and that's it. I don't eat a lot of eggs.
When I'm eating eggs, I'll probably eat between 4 to 8 eggs a day. But then I'll have days where I don't eat any. Now when I first started the diet, I was pretty much consuming on the average 6 eggs a day. But yeah, it's normally in that range, 4 to 8 when I'm consuming them. But I don't consume them every day now.
Yeah, me 2 eggs, and I don't eat them every day. So if I eat, like I said, it's a social thing with my son. So I have him every other week. So maybe every other weekend I might have eggs. That's it. Occasional hard-boiled eggs. Occasional.
How many hard-boiled eggs can you eat in one sitting? That's where I have my cap at 4 because I'm like, nope.
I just do 2, and I cut them in half, and then put salt all over them. And by the time I'm done, I'm full. That could be like a meal right there.
I've ate quite a few hard-boiled eggs. I never counted how many I ate in one setting, but I've done it, but not recently.
Oof.
All right. I posted in private chat for you guys if you want to read that. Let's see here. This person said strategic fasting is very healthy. Sorry to hear misinformation. Sorry to hear misinformation here. Stressing the
misinformation. It's just an opinion. It's not misinformation.
Yeah.
I think fasting, is an individual thing. So
I don't think anybody gave any misinformation. I think it's all perspective to the person.
It's opinion. Yeah.
Yeah.
No one said not to ever fast here. That's not.
We all fast here. We're all either OMAD or 2MAD. When I made my comment, I was coming at it. I mean, there is a point where it does stress the body. It does cause anxiety. It does raise cortisol. I'm not saying it happens right away immediately, but long term, the longer you fast, it is a natural stress to the body. Every once in a while, it's not going to bother you. But yeah, if you're trying to intentionally fast, like I know people who's tried fasting like 3 days in a row or 2 days in a row or whatever, there does come a point to where it does cause a physiological stressful response to your body. That's the point I was making, that that's why I don't agree with fasting, because it is a stress at some point to your body. But everyone on the screen fasts, whether it's 23 hours, 16 hours, 18 hours, we're all fasting. But that was the point I was making. There comes a point to where it does have a physiological response to your body, depending on how you're fasting and how long you're fasting.
I agree. And I would say this, there's 4 people on here and all 4 people are giving their personal opinions, and it's our perspective from the way we've done this. And there's no misinformation here. We're just simply giving you our opinions. It is up to you to make your decision on what you want to do in your particular case. Charlotte says, what is OMAD and 2MAD? So OMAD stands for 1 meal a day, and 2MAD is for 2 meals a day. And then you'll hear some people say 3MAD, which is 3 meals a day. OMAD is the most common term, but you hear that a lot now where people are eating more than 1 meal a day. So then they say 2MAD and 3MAD. But that's just what it comes down. How many meals a day do you need to eat? Most days I go OMAD, but there are those days where I feel like I got to eat during lunch. And so then I'll have a meal in the middle of the day. I never eat breakfast. So I never eat 3 meals a day. If I eat early morning, then I won't eat lunch. I'll still only have 2 meals. I'll just end up skipping lunch and having dinner. Let's see here. Looks like we got a super chat from somebody here. Not sure whose channel that was on. It's definitely not mine because I'm not monetized. Carry on 72 weeks without carbs, OMAD and 2MAD, regular exercise and sunshine.
All right, Ron. Way to go, man. That's awesome.
So, and we
whoever
appreciate
needed me, thanks. I don't know if it was me or these other guys, but thanks. I know I interact with Christopher Ellis. So thanks a lot. What's RON? That's the type of money it is?
Yeah, that's a currency.
Interesting. So yeah. Thanks, Chris.
I'm not familiar with it, but we can figure that out.
I don't know what
Anyways,
that is. Maybe
It's
Chris can tell us
Romanian.
what RON is.
Romanian currency. I just looked-
Romanian.
Yeah.
Ah,
Romanian.
somebody had to build it. I'm sitting here trying to flip through comments.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
That's the first time I've seen that. It's welcome though. Definitely appreciate it.
Wait. This isn't that. This is usually a sound effect for mine, but I'll do it anyway.
Oh, nice. I like it.
All right, guys. I'm at the bottom of the comments here. If anybody has a last minute question, feel to throw it in here right now. We're going to go 10 minutes. I'm going to let each guy here, or each person, excuse me, Nicole. I don't mean guy. I mean each person. Give us what your closing, what you're thinking, what you got going on, your views, your points, what are you doing tomorrow, what are you eating? I mean, whatever you want to talk about. I'll throw it out and we'll work our way around the clock. So Nicole, you get to go first.
Oh, what I'm eating. Two burger patties is coming up for dinner, cooked in butter. But yeah, I'm leaving I have a busy work week. I just launched that 12-week program I mentioned earlier. So I'm getting busy promoting and doing all this stuff. But yeah, I leave for Keto Palooza Thursday evening. It is my birthday weekend, so I'll be celebrating my birthday in Kentucky. And yeah, and then I'll be coming back. I believe I come back Sunday night. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got going on. I don't have any. I think John, I think you're my next live. Actually, quite possibly. I think you're my next live. I've been kind of quiet on the live front on YouTube because I've had a lot going on the back end. But yeah, I do plan to get back into lives and being more active on YouTube again when I get back from Kentucky. But that's why I've been dormant, is I've just had a lot going on behind the scenes in my business and stuff like that. So YouTube had to kind of take a little bit of a back seat. But I think, John, you're actually my next live, because I paused all my lives. So I think you're my first one back.
All right. Well, we need to talk about that because I don't remember if we got a date set on it. So if we got a date, then we definitely need to have a chat after.
John may not be my first one back.
Yeah, because I didn't know we had a date scheduled, but I know we've been back and forth in messages. But
yeah, you scheduled it on my Calendly. I'm pulling it up now. It's supposed to be on
You sure it was me?
The 11th, October 11th.
Okay. October 11th. That's next Wednesday. Okay. I'll have to go back and look at that because I don't have that on my calendar, so I definitely need to make sure I get it on there.
John may not be my first live back. We'll see.
No, I mean I'm available for it. I just want to make sure. All right. Larry, final thoughts, anything going on? What's your thoughts? What you eating? Show your guns, whatever you got going on today.
I got the Hump Day meetup Wednesday, 7:05 p.m. CST. Make sure you be there, be square. And then Friday, I'm actually doing another Mission Carnivore interview. And Mission Carnivore is my passion project. Mission Carnivore is interviewing first responders and military veterans who have embraced carnivore and how it's affected their mental health and their physical health and well-being. I've already had Intentional Carnivore on there. I've had several veterans. Carnivore Scott is an Air Force veteran, and he'll be giving his story. And I won't be publishing it Friday night, but we're doing the interview Friday night. It'll probably be published over the weekend or Monday. But Mission Carnivore, if you haven't checked it out, check out my channel, because those videos, if you can watch them, like them, and subscribe, it'll actually drive the algorithm. We need to get it out to more and more veterans and first responders, because there's a mental health crisis. And my theory is that it actually coincides with the introduction of low-fat foods in the late 70s, early 80s. And my whole idea behind that is, before the VA existed, they actually tracked military suicides. And the suicide rate in World War II and Korean War was about 5 per 100,000. It had jumped to 17 per 100,000 during the Vietnam War. And now it's at a staggering 20 to 29 per 100,000. These are just active duty, not including veterans who are taking their own lives. So I really think that the introduction of the standard American diet has basically moved the tipping point, because the things that cause veterans in active duty to commit suicide are still the same: relationship problems, money problems, legal problems. These are not changed. They've been around since mankind's been around. But what's happened is the tipping point has shifted, because the diet, I believe, has put our brains in a fog where they can't handle these things as well. And it's really unfortunate. So that's my passion project. So yeah, check out Mission Carnivore.
So I would love to like talk offline and maybe get involved. So I'm a Air Force veteran. I spent 14 and a half years in, and my old career field, I was a cop, and the suicide rate in my old career field, because I have a buddy who got out a little bit after me, and it was through the roof. Like he was an investigator, and there wasn't a day that went by to where there wasn't a suicide or suicide attempt in my old field, security forces. So yeah, it's a huge problem within the military. I mean, civilian too, but in the military, it's gotten a lot worse since I've gotten out in 2016. So only a few years ago, and it's gotten a lot worse since then even.
I did 21 years, 20 and a half, almost 21. And I knew more deaths from suicide than combat during this long war we've been in. So that tells you something right there, right? There's something wrong. And I'd love to talk to you offline for sure. Let's just email me at carnivoresoldier@gmail.com. We can get you scheduled up and talk about that for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I definitely love to support that mission.
If you haven't seen his interviews on Carnivore Soldier, they're well worth going back and watching, because he's got some really good interviews. They're really good perspectives. He had one with a gentleman from, I believe it was England, that I watched all the way through. Really good information. Really good to see other perspectives on it. Me personally, I used to be a correctional officer, so I've seen a lot of the issues in corrections. They have it where you get into an altercation at work, and some of these people that are correctional officers are so unhealthy and eat so sad diet, to the extreme, that they get in an altercation at work and they go home and die from a heart attack. And so there's a lot of that goes on. So I've seen it there. I also worked as a park ranger for a while. I was a non-law enforcement position. And then I actually did bounty hunting for a while too, but that's a discussion for another day. So yeah, I agree wholeheartedly that this is a good subject matter. And if you haven't checked out his channel and watched those videos, go back and see them. All right. Moving down here to Brian.
Yeah, so before the live stream, I had a 12-ounce New York strip and a burger patty. And after this live stream, I'm going to go out and do some yard work on cutting the grass and so forth. So that'll probably take me to 6, 7 o'clock. And I'll probably have another couple of ground beef burger patties. And that's going to be kind of like what I'm going to eat today. As for what's going on the channel, I have some offline interviews that I'm working on this week. I'm going to be on Larry's Wednesday hump day meetup. And Thursday, I have the low carb football party with my weight loss life, Greg. And we usually bring some guests on to that show and so forth. So those are kind of the things I have coming up this week. Just, typical stuff there, I guess. And gonna work on some more, videos on my experiences on a carnivore diet and stuff like that. And I know I haven't been putting out quite as many of those lately because I've done so many lives. I'm going to try and get back to doing more of those and not do quite as many lives. A couple a week, 2, 3 a week are fine. I was doing like 5 or 6 a week there for a couple of weeks, and that was just way too many. I couldn't get anything else done. So that's why I'm going to try and get back to doing more of those videos. I think that those have a lot of benefit for people out there. And, I want to make sure that people get the chance to see those videos. So
cool. All right. Well, that brings it. What?
I think great. Sounds good.
That brings it back around to me. There was one more question here. I think we'll answer this real quick. How much weight has everyone lost, intentional or not? So I'm down 73 pounds personally since March 1st. Nicole?
70 pounds.
70 pounds. Brian?
I am currently at 80 pounds, and today is exactly 15 months on the carnivore diet.
Yeah, nice.
And Larry, where are you at?
46 pounds down, but like I said, it's more fat than that because I put on muscle and bone. So 46 pounds of weight loss and my body's completely reshaped. I have 2 pairs of shorts that fit me and no pants. So I got to go shopping because it's going to get cold here in Texas pretty soon. I have no clothes to wear. Even my skinny pants, I used to keep the old jeans, call them skinny jeans. Yeah, no go.
My leather belt, I have 12 inches of movement since March 1st. So I've lost 12 inches of girth in that 73 pounds. So yeah, I put on a lot of muscle too, but I've lost probably 100 pounds of fat. So, the belt is a really good indicator of where I'm at. All right, guys. So this week, tonight, I have an interview with Mike Shaw from Mike Shaw TV. We're going to interview him and talk to him about his journey on the carnivore diet. And then I have next Sunday's roundtable, and then I'll have an interview with Becky from Carnivore, Oregon. Yeah, I'm not going to try to say all that together.
Oregonian.
Yeah, there you go. That's what she said.
You got it.
So she'll be on it next Sunday, and then after that, I have my roundtable, of course, on Sunday with a new guest that I'm excited about, and I'll talk about that just in a minute. He just confirmed on my email. I was just reading it a second ago. And then that night, I'm having an interview with Carnivore Kip. I'm also setting up interviews with Ground Beef Guy and Carnivore Trucker, and I'll have those posted up and on my YouTube channel here pretty quickly. But my exciting news, and I've been working on this for a while with some different ones, but Dr. Tony Hampton has confirmed for the 15th to be on the Carnivore Round Table. So,
awesome.
Make sure you put that on your calendar. I'm also working on getting Dr. Kiltz on here. Kiltz has said yes. I'm just working with his assistant to figure out what day that's going to be. So that'll be a good roundtable too. So it's like having Nicole on here. She brings a whole new perspective than the three of us guys here over here every week. Talking about the carnivore diet. So I appreciate
need more estrogen on these roundtables. Get some ladies on here.
Well, help me out there because I've been trying to get Aaliyah nailed down for a while, and she's a hard person to talk to and get confirmed on something. Absolutely, Nurse Kim can definitely be on here. I'm looking, send me an email at carnivorebackwoods@gmail.com. I'll send you the link, and we can get some more people signed in here because I want a balanced, carnivore roundtable, for all of us to have a good discussion. Now, I do download these. I remove all the and ums and that from this, and I will upload it as a podcast that you can listen to on any of your favorite podcast channel, whether it's Google, Apple, Spotify, so on and so forth. So, if you want to go back and listen to this while you're driving back and forth to work and not have to look at our ugly faces, we understand completely. So look for that. This video will be up shortly, or this audio of this video will be up shortly. The video will always be on YouTube. Anybody else have anything else in here? I'm going to look to see if there's any final questions.
I would just say that my Mission Carnivore is also a podcast. So if you do drive and don't want to watch it, you can just listen to the Mission Carnivore podcast. Same as what John said, and it's all the main streamers. So
yeah, if you don't want to look at our ugly faces, podcast is the way to go.
It works.
Let's see. I got a question here. What's the most unexpected health issue that resolved with carnivore? That's a great question. That's a good one to end on. Brian, I'll start with you. We'll pick on you first.
For me, it would be AFib. So that's a heart thing where your signals get messed up and your heart starts going into an abnormal beat, but it goes really fast and then slows down and really fast and so forth. And I was having a lot of episodes with that, and I'm about 13, 14 months now without a single episode. So that's the biggest thing for me. It was unexpected. Thanks.
Okay. Brian, or not Brian, but Larry?
I would say at 57 years old, arthritis and the mental health issue. Waking up positively, basically with a positive mental attitude every day, depression gone, anxiety gone, stress levels low. And then arthritis going away. So I'm not always in pain, not every minute of every day like I was. I kind of assumed the rest of my life was just a downhill slope. and just managing symptoms the rest of my life. And now it's completely different. I feel like I'm in my 30s again, and I have a major future ahead of me. So that's the big thing. Unexpected.
Outstanding. Nicole?
Yeah, so similar to Larry, I have all the itises. I've had multiple knee surgeries, reconstructive, all that stuff. The Air Force actually tried to med board me. But yeah, I have arthritis, bursitis, tendonitis, and that's actually why I switched to low carb, was to be able to sit like this for 2 hours and not get stiff or in pain and be able to go up and down stairs and kneel and function like a normal human being. The surgeon actually told me I would probably need a replacement when I get older. So I just thought I would have to deal with this. But yeah, the pain's gone. I go up and down stairs. We live on a 3rd floor of our condo building. I don't take the elevator anymore. It's great. I can even go down the stairs like normal without going sideways. Larry knows what I'm talking about, having to go down sideways. But yeah, other than that, yeah, just my anxiety and depression, my mental health has improved. But yeah, the reason I switched to low carb was because of my knee pain. I know that's weird because everyone else has it for weight loss and all that, but I went from pain relief, and yeah, that has since gone away. So I don't know if the arthritis and all that stuff is still there. At this point, I don't care. It's dormant and it doesn't bother me.
Outstanding. Well, I've had lots of great things that were unexpected on this diet. When I first started it, I knew I needed to lose weight. I had a bad case of hemorrhoids that, we won't go into great detail on, but you can understand that they were bad. And that was one of the spur things that got me looking around on, I needed to change the way I was doing things. But I have a long list of things that have been unexpected. I mean, all the joint pains, all the body aches, all the things I thought that where I'd hurt myself over years ago, and they were just a chronic pain that I was going to have to deal with for the rest of my life. Those are all gone. The diabetes and the metformin medication I was on, that's all gone. I'm no longer diabetic and no longer have to take medication for that. My blood pressure is in one of the best states it's ever been in. And like I said, I'm getting closer and closer to eliminating the last of my medication on that. I no longer have skin tags. I've actually got some color back in my beard. I was going gray, and there's actually some places where it actually got some color back into it, which I didn't even think was possible. But the most recent victory, unexpected, non-scale victory, is my vision has improved. I'm not a glasses, I don't wear glasses, but I do have some reading glasses because, I've got to that age where you need, sometimes reading some of the smaller print, gets really blurry. And I noticed here last week that I don't need them as much as I used to. Now, if the light's low, if I'm in a darker room, then I'll find myself needing them. But as long as the room is bright, I can read fine print for the first time in quite some time, which that is a huge victory for me. And I relate that to the diet also. So those are mine. Anybody got any closing thoughts?
Yeah, how rude. I just got prescribed glasses. And you said your eyesight's improved? I have glasses for the first time. What the heck?
Holy moly.
I've been struggling with the thought of having to go actually get prescription glasses, and I probably will need them, but my vision is better than it was because it was there for a while. I mean, if I held it out far from me like this, I could read it, but if I got it up close, I couldn't read it at all. And now I can actually read. I'm back to reading books and stuff, and I was realizing that I didn't need my glasses the other night to read, which was a shocker. All right, guys, we've gone over time here. I always try to hold it to 2 hours. We're at 2 hours and 8 minutes. I appreciate each and every one of you. I appreciate everybody for coming in here. If you haven't done it yet, hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, give these other channels some love. Let me pull this off the screen here. Remember that you got Former Fat Girl, at Former Fat Girl. You got at Carnivore Soldier. You got at Wick Goes Carnivore or at Wikivore. And you got at Carnivore Backwoods. We appreciate you guys. Give us some support. It just helps get our message out there so we can reach more people. And we do appreciate you. And we will see you on the next live stream next Sunday, same time, 1 o'clock. And we look forward to talking to you then.